The year was 1987. Let's talk about what happened that year. Floppy disks were a thing. Walk Like an Egyptian was the #1 song. CDs outsold vinyl records for the first time. And on October 19th, the largest stock market crash in history occurred, with the Dow Jones dropping 22.6% in a single session. And on that very same day, Wanda Page joined the City of Durham for her first in a series of jobs, 7 total, before becoming our illustrious city manager some 34 years later. As you know, she has announced her retirement with her last official day on December 31st. Hello, and welcome to CityLife. I'm Beverly Thompson, your host. Today, you'll notice that we look just a little different. That's because we have a really special show. We're taking time to celebrate the more than 3 decades of public service of Wanda Page, our city manager. Last July, Wanda announced her retirement, effective January 1st, 2025. She will be missed not only by the Durham community, but also by the 2,500 or so employees. So we ask employees, those who know her best, to take part in the show by providing questions they'd like for her to answer before she leaves. So we'll start our show. Welcome, City Manager Page, and thank you so much for joining me today. Wanda, we know you've been busy, as you will be over the next 3 months, and I know you have not eased up at all. How do you feel knowing that these are your last 3 months working for the City of Durham?
Well, Beverly, thinking about only having 3 more months to be a part of an organization that has been a major part of my life for more than 35 years, it's very, sometimes I'm very excited, sometimes I'm sad, but most of the time I'm filled with joy that I have had this opportunity to really, really work in the community that I live in, that I love, that my children were born in, educated in a community that is as great as Durham. So for the most part, every day I feel almost like I felt the same day.
Oh my gosh, really?
That I walked in the front of City Hall. I've always worked in City Hall, so I've been coming to the same building. That's where I start my day. So some days I forget that I'm only going to be here for 3 more months. But other days I know it's coming to an end. So I am just trying my best to continue to lead in a way that I know this organization deserves and that our employees expect. And I am just anxious to see what the next day is going to bring.
Okay. Well, Wanda, as you know, as a part of this program, we did ask city employees to submit questions they wanted you to answer before you leave. Some are about your retirement, some about your accomplishments, but most of all, they were questions from city employees because they just want to know what's next for you. So I'm going to ask you some of those questions, and I know you will answer what you can, and what you can't, we'll just move on.
Okay.
But one person wanted to know, what do you see as the biggest opportunities for the City of Durham in the next 5 years?
So thank you for that question, city employee. Certainly, I always like to answer questions sort of twofold. Often I look internal, and I'll start with that response. I believe that continuing to create an organizational culture that allows us to recruit, retain, and recruit and retain employees for this organization is going to continue to be a challenge, but I do believe that it is going to allow us to be creative, to be competitive with other governments, to be competitive with the private sector, because we want the best and the brightest, and we want to continue to provide the kind of service that our residents expect. So I believe that's going to continue to be a challenge, but I believe this organization is going to continue to innovate and continue to be able to recruit and retain employees. So that is the internal response. I also believe that we all know about a lot of different challenges that we have in our city, in our county, in our state, in our world, and housing individuals in places that they can thrive and can live, raise their families is going to be a challenge because we don't have as much control over all of the inputs that go into that system. We can help with making some things happen, but some things happen that are way outside of our control. So that would be my external opportunity, I believe, that the organization is going to continue to have.
So you think the City of Durham is poised to handle whatever comes, right? I mean, you definitely have given us a whole lot of yourself and a whole lot of your institutional knowledge to help us prepare for the future. But in looking back over your entire career, what was your fondest memory?
Fondest memory? I really think it is going to be managing this organization with great leaders and wonderful employees during the COVID pandemic. There was so much that we had never seen before, and most likely will never see again in our lifetime on Earth. And we had to really, really come up with new ways of serving our residents, and to be able to sort of check in every day and be able to see that, yes, we're doing this. We can do it. We are doing it. We have been doing it. We may not be doing it the same way, but we were able to come through the worst and then sort of build our way back to where we are today, which is not back 100%, but we are back to pre-COVID times. So I think I will always remember and sometimes even be in awe of how we actually did it. But I know how we did it. We did it because of the employees that we have, the dedicated city employees, over 2,500 of us working together as a team every day to serve our residents.
Okay, so on the flip side, I would imagine a lot of people would have thought COVID might have been the biggest challenge. But on the flip side, what was the biggest challenge?
Well, I think the biggest challenge happened around the same time. Okay. And it was the malware attack.
Oh, for instance.
So the malware attack happened a couple of weeks before the COVID pandemic shutdown. And our city, which really, operates through a series of technological systems, and we run public safety systems. We have to pay over 2,500 employees, and a lot of it is through technology. And the malware attack that impacted us in March of 2020 was probably the biggest challenge that I can actually recall during my work history here as it relates to operations. And we were able to bring the city back from no technology to be able to pay our employees within 2 weeks by recovering our systems, using our state government, using our contractors and consultants, and most of all, our very, very capable city employees in technology, in the Technology Solutions Department, to bring this organization back up. It was my privilege to embed myself within that team.
I was going to ask you about that.
For about 2 weeks every day. So instead of coming to the city manager's office, I went to IT, and I served. I don't have IT expertise, but I served as a cheerleader and a motivator, a morale builder. And it was very important to me during this 24/7 operation to bring this organization back to modern technology, from everything being down related to a malware attack.
So my next question was going to be about leadership. And you just mentioned being a cheerleader. Is that one of the aspects of a great leader, you think? And is that what you think enabled us to recover from the malware attack so quickly, so efficiently and effectively?
I think so. I think, there are a lot of characteristics of a great leader. And certainly one of them is to support your employees and your leaders and managers and contributors that are actually doing the work on a day-to-day basis. Give them the tools that they need. Give them the moral support that they need. Certainly, compensate them fairly. And I do believe that, there are other characteristics of being a great leader: communication, making sure that messages that are sent to employees are clear, as well as listening, being an active listener. You cannot lead without listening to those who you are leading. So that has been, really, really important to me as a leader. I also believe empathy is very, very important to being a great leader. You must be able to understand, put yourself in the place of those stakeholders, whether it's employees, whether it's the residents we serve, in order to understand and help create solutions for problems, celebrate when celebration is in order. And I believe, empathy facilitates that.
So do you think that is because you have been in 7 positions throughout your career? I mean, you can empathize with what it takes to be a good leader and to know what employees need and want. So is that your positions contribute to understanding the empathy that would be needed from employees or toward employees?
Yes, I think so. I think I probably, you said in the introduction that I've been in 7 positions before the city manager. So that probably means I started in an entry-level position, which I did. I was in my 20s. So I've been in entry-level positions. I've been in supervisory positions. I've been in, frontline supervisory positions. I've been in manager positions. I've been the director of a department, as well as, an executive leader now. So I was just very fortunate to be able to stay in city government my whole career. But I do believe that serving in all of those different types of position, it gives me a unique perspective when it comes to leading employees that we have here in city government.
So someone else wanted to know, if you could change one thing about your public service career, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about my public service career, I would say, Beverly, that being able to more effectively communicate with job seekers, young professional students, that a career in public service is really unmatched. And I think I've done that, in certain settings that I have had an opportunity to mentor young professional employees or mentor employees in this organization, as well as students in public administration programs. But having a wider net and being able to just express how rewarding a public service career can be. I would have liked to have done that more.
I think you've certainly made an impact. We've had so many interns and other fellows who work for the city, and certainly came away with a deeper understanding of what city government does. So I think you're to be applauded for that, for the impact that you have made. Do you think these people who have been in, those kinds of positions will, if they have enough of a background, a foundation, to stay in city government or in local government, period?
I think staying in local government is a personal decision. There, and folks have many opportunities to work. Many of us, work for 20 years, 30 years, and you have to love what you do. And I think we have a lot of dedicated city employees here that really love what they do. And therefore, I believe that some of the students, potential employees that I have interacted with over my career, have decided to stay and are very dedicated to community, to public service.
Okay. So it's a special calling, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Okay. If you could provide any advice to your fellow city employees to help make them successful and to make it to retirement, what would it be?
Well, I would say get up every morning with a check-in. And it's a personal check-in. That check-in is always know what it means to be in government service and know who we serve every day. And I believe that personal check-in, getting up every morning, knowing you're going to possibly run into something you never run into before, and thinking about how the day may go, but realize that we're government. We do things that no one else does. In some cases, we're the only provider. And if you can have that check-in every single morning, it's almost like coming to a new job every day. So you know how exciting it is when you get a new job.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanna get ready for it. You wanna make sure everything is in order to, walk into the door, go to your new workplace. I think working in government gives you that opportunity almost every single day to go to a new job, because you never know what you're going to encounter, and it is very exciting. Sometimes it's a great day. Sometimes it's a day you wish you could start over. But all in all, if you do that personal check-in and you know what government is, why we exist, what part we play in the lives of other people, I believe that is advice for someone who would like to stay in government service, to have a long career in local government.
So you're saying it's critical that we understand what local government is all about, and is serving the residents and serving the community, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Someone else wanted to know if there's one thing that you could change about your public service career, what would it be?
Well, there are a lot of things, I could go into details about, the authority of local government and things that we can do based on our charter, those things that we don't have the power to do. Certainly, some of the things that as a municipal government that we don't, actually have the authority to do. Often people think that we have the authority to do, to do certain things to help them. And so really, being able to move the needle, in some of those areas, being able to, figure out additional revenue sources or different, ways that we can fund services for the city. That would not have been, something that I could have done, as an individual, but just overall, more progress in having a municipal government have a little bit more flexibility to serve the community. An example of over the last couple of years having federal funding that has a little bit less strings attached to it. The ARPA funding is an example of that, where we were able to have sub-grantees, sub-recipients receive money in order to do things that we can't actually do ourselves as a municipal government. So those are the kinds of things that, come to mind, related to the question that you're talking about. How can government be a little bit more nimble, a little more flexible? Because that's what it takes. Now, we've made some progress. We've learned over the years how important it is to have our residents help us do what we do, because they are positioned They're leaders in their communities. They know people that we don't know. So building those kinds of partnerships have, sort of in an unofficial way, helped government become more nimble. But government as a municipal corporation is still pretty structured, and some people would call bureaucratic.
Bureaucratic, right? But it's necessary.
It's necessary, yes.
Okay. So another person asked us that they said that you've seen so much in your time in the city manager's office. What single memory, day, or event would you say is the most impactful of your entire career? And you can pick two. You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot. If I had to pick one, I'm just going to pick one and then tell you why.
Okay.
I really think the February of 2006, some people think I remember dates and numbers and those kinds of things very well, but February of 2006 is when I was selected by the then city manager to become an assistant city manager. And I had several roles, as you mentioned at the beginning, of which I learned a lot. I learned a lot of people, both inside the organization and in the community. But I came into the city manager's office as an assistant city manager, and I was assigned 10 departments. The city, as you know, has over 25 departments here, and that number goes up and down depending upon the organization or the leader of the organization structure. But to have 10 leaders be part of a portfolio that I was going to be an executive leader of had a great deal of impact, because I knew that I was going to have an opportunity to learn a lot from them and hopefully share some of the knowledge that I had gained in the past 18 years of being a city employee. But over the past 19 years since that happened, since that day, I realized how important coming into the manager's office as one of the executive leaders has been to my overall knowledge of government, impact to residents. And every day that I have the privilege of working as an executive leader of this organization, that day of coming into the manager's office in February of 2006 becomes more and more important to me.
Why do you think that?
Well, one of the main reasons is much of my career had been administrative. And when I say administrative, it had, involved finance and budget and audit and, closely working with TS and human resources, internal serving departments, departments that are making sure that the city's, budget and finance and, finances are in order so that we can serve the public. Right. One of the things that I had not done as much is actually be a part of departments that actually on a day-to-day basis serve residents. And that was kind of the start of my direct knowledge of that type of government service, seeing it not just from the numbers or from the budgets, but from the actual operations and the impact on residents.
Okay, thank you. So another question is, if there was one thing you would want city employees to remember about your time in this organization and as its leader, what would that be?
So I would like employees to remember City Manager Wanda Page as a manager that respected employees all across the organization, valued employees all across the organization, and the work that those employees do. It doesn't matter what the job is. It can be any job. But that I, as the leader, I value the work that is done on a day-to-day basis by our employees. And I hope that that employees who were here over the last 4 years, while I have been the city manager, believe that the words that I use when I say I value employees, that I did everything that I could to put those words into action. Work, whether it is the culture or the workplace culture, the health and wellness, the salary adjustments, making sure that the market rate for jobs that people do, that they are actually compensated for those jobs. And I hope people will remember that, because without employees, there is no government. The government is made up of employees, and employees are the ones that serve our community. So I hope I will be remembered for that.
Speaking of being remembered for things, your legacy, in my humble opinion, will be the creation of the Community Safety Department. It has had such an impact on Durham. What do you have to say about setting that department up and the impact that it's had?
Well, I would like to say that, being a leader involves vision. And I believe it was the vision. It didn't start exactly, the concept did not start with Wanda Page. The previous manager, Tom Bonfield, the Budget Management Services Department at the time, set the stage for the success of a function like the Community Safety Department. As the city manager, I made a determination to incorporate that function as a separate department, a separate public safety department that would respond along with police, fire, and be a part of the 911 system. So while those were decisions that were made by me, I certainly give credit to the analysis and data that took place before I became the city manager to set us up to be successful by creating the Community Safety Department. I believe it was a demonstration of the use of actual information and data to help build a department from the ground while you're serving. So often as a government, we are building the train as it is going down the track. We can never stop serving while we're building. But when you can actually do it successfully, even growing the department from a pilot to fully functioning as a citywide service to people who are in crisis, who really, really need it, and they need a response. And whenever someone calls 911, they want somebody to come. And for us to have the Community Safety Department now that is, is just admired by cities all across the country, probably even out of, in other countries potentially, to be able to have a professional 911 operator be able to go through a conversation with the resident and determine exactly what response that resident needs and be able to send a community safety, community response team to them to help them out of that crisis situation. I will always remember being a part of the creation of that. Before I finish talking about community safety, though, I have to shout out the leadership and the employees that work in that operation. We now have licensed clinical social workers that are city employees. We did not have those before community safety. We did have a very few peer support specialists, but after the creation of the Community Safety Department, we have peer support specialists. Often people, when they receive service, they can relate sometimes to to folks who have had similar experiences, and it can make their outcomes better because of that. So, we created new positions that the city has never had, and the leader of that department, Ryan Smith, and his relationship with the other public safety department leaders is unmatched. So I talk a lot about it. I'm very proud of the role I had in it. I'm just one part of it, but I will always remember the creation of Community Safety Department.
And I have to add too, something that really stood out for me was the bringing of faster internet service to DHA, Durham Housing Authority properties. Talk a little bit about that and what that meant to you.
So you can always remember so many things, and I'm glad you brought that up. So for many years, as a deputy city manager with the Technology Solutions Department as part of my portfolio, even before COVID, we were working on ways to try to make internet service and training and equipment available to some of our residents who just didn't have it. And we were involved in Connect Home, which was a federal initiative. We were just seeking ways to, around the edges, make some of that happen. And when the COVID pandemic happened and the city received this initial, CARES Act funding, we received, some little bit over $2 million, if less than $3 million in the first round. And I was not the manager at the time. I was a deputy manager, but I was able to recommend that a large portion, over $2 million of that funding, go to the Durham Housing Authority to equip every community. I believe it was about 8 of their properties where children were living. They have more than that or had more than that, but where children were living, to provide free Wi-Fi, internet service into every home in the public housing communities that were owned by DHA, because students were having to remote be in class. And if you have to be in class remote and you don't have internet service, then you really can't be in class. And so while some of these communities had, common areas where they had Wi-Fi, maybe they could take computers, if they had them there, but to really build out a system that made Wi-Fi available to every single family in a home that was part of the Durham Housing Authority, so residents could continue to remote work and students could be part of their classes, was really, really important. The Durham Public Schools also got, funding from the federal government. They were able to provide some laptops for all of their students. So it kind of went together like a puzzle, but our part was actually accomplishing with our partners at Duke, our TS department, as well as the federal government providing that funding, but being able to recommend, have it accepted, by the previous manager, Tom Bonfield, that we would use the CARES Act funding to finish a vision that we had to connect every home with free Wi-Fi service that was part of the Durham Housing Authority properties.
What an impact you had on those lives, so many lives during your tenure here. But those are just 2 of the most important areas, I think, that really made an impression on so many people in Durham. So I commend you for that on behalf of the employees and the residents of Durham. So let's turn now to some leisure time. One person wanted to know, what is the best kept secret within the city of Durham that the average person would not be privy to? A great unknown respite. Not necessarily at City Hall, it could be at City Hall, but a beautiful spot at an off-site facility, a resource for enjoying.
So the city has a lot of beautiful places. You know, some are known, as you say, some are unknown. Some are open spaces, some are filled with action. You know, if I had to pick one, I would say there may be new residents, or, you know, folks who are not familiar with Lake Mickey, or they may know that Lake Mickey is there. They may not know that way out on Bahama Road, there's a park, and it really is a city park. So there's a marina there, there's fishing, people who got to have a fishing license, but fishing, boating, camping, primitive camping sites. So, you know, often we think, you know, well, everybody's peace space is not the same. But, you know, often being near water or being near nature can be, can be important to folks. And for it to be a city park during open hours, you know, it's free. It's a free space to go and, you know, go and relax. So I would pick that one. It's just, you know, it's just one of them. And we've had retreats there. We used to have city picnic there. So I kind of have some experiences myself being there numerous times. So that's what I picked.
Okay. So kind of related to that, somebody wanted to know, how would you describe your ability or the ability of a city manager in general to turn your work brain off when you're not officially on duty, but when you live in the community?
I always consider myself on duty. And, you know, I'm not certain how all other managers operate, but I always consider myself on duty. If there's something that the city government is supposed to do or react to or, you know, have a part of, then I'm on duty. But that doesn't mean that I don't prioritize my, you know, my personal life as well. I'd like to make sure that every single day I have family time. Family time meaning time to talk to my family members about their day as well as my day. That I don't think about my health and wellness. I always try to prioritize health and wellness. I do have spurts of exercise. I'm not doing it right now. And, you know, I need some accountability partners, but it's never as far away. So, you know, everybody needs to try to turn off, you know, things that can make your mind race or, you know, in some cases, you know, sort of cause stress. But I like to personalize it and make sure that I am getting enough away time for me, which may not be the same as other people, but away time for me. And those are some of the ways that I do it. But I always prioritize my family. I had both my children while I was a city employee. So I always, I was always present for their events and activities. I build it in, use my leave when I had to. But, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, you know, they're adults now. So most of my time is spent thinking about or being about my job as city manager. But I do want employees to know it is important to have work-life balance. And for me, I try to have it the way a baby boomer can have it.
Okay. I know you have 2 beautiful children who you adore. And I've definitely, you know, gotten to know them a bit as well, William and Kelly, and a wonderful husband, Craig. Are they really supportive of you taking this time out? I mean, just ending your time as a city employee now and becoming Wanda Page, resident of Durham?
They are all excited for me and happy for me to be able to retire now. And I call it get ready for my encore career,
Encore presentation.
encore career, which is going to, consist of some very, very lightweight things, but, certainly some rest and, some travel, spending more time with them. My father is still alive, so spending time with my father, doing things with, friends who are also getting their work life a little bit lighter. So I look forward to being able to, walk on the trail, go to lunch, do things that don't always fit into my current schedule. And certainly you mentioned my family members. They're going to be first in line to get that time.
And I didn't mention your wonderful sister, Kim.
Yes, my sister
adore.
Kim, who's already retired. So we have some plans to do things together too. So we are, it's really an exciting time. I am going to miss my city family very, very, very much. And I consider my family here, my work family, to be family. So I'm going to miss my work family. And I hope to be able to, I'm going to still be living in Durham. So I hope to see you at the grocery store.
Right.
I hope to see you at the DPAC or a city park or a city trail, many places around town, volunteering in some of our public nonprofit organizations that serve our residents. So.
Okay. Wanda, you and I have known each other for a long time, more than 30 years, went to Carolina together. We're from small towns. Did you ever envision yourself as a little girl from Wilson growing up to become the city manager of one of the largest cities in the state?
Not really. I have always looked at my career in phases or stages. So as, I had certain accomplishments, I always looked for, the next accomplishment. So it sort of built on, on a base. But as a young girl, no, I never even knew, I had a concept of what that even would be. I didn't even really know, what a city manager was, what a city manager did. I certainly was a recipient of some city services because ultimately I did live in the city. So, we had water, we had garbage collection and that kind of thing. But no, I did not envision. My background obviously is in finance and accounting. So, most of my, early career, I was focused on advancing in those areas, which I did have, a great accomplishments in those areas. But I did not anticipate being the manager of the city of Durham for the last 4 years of my career. But it has been a very impactful blessing to me and to my family and hopefully to the community.
Good. Well, is there anything you'd like to say in closing to the residents and to the employees of the city?
First, employees. So I want to say to the employees out there who are listening to this presentation today, we're about to have change.
Yes.
And change is sometimes a little scary. It can make us, feel a little uncertain about the future. But I want to encourage you to think about this change as an opportunity to do new things, to do greater things, to continue the accomplishments and accolades that we have built over the past, but just take them higher. It's going to happen. So I just encourage you as you think about, what's going to happen next? Who's going to be the next city manager? Think about it as an opportunity to continue to work with your colleagues, continue to collaborate with the community, and City of Durham is going to be even greater than it is today. I also would encourage city employees to support each other, continue to be great teammates, and work together to serve the community. We are all greater together. And, I can't leave this session without thanking all of the city employees that are out there. I say it every time that I have an opportunity to speak, that I really appreciate the work that you do every single day, the dedication that you have to your jobs, dedication that you have to continuous development and improvement. And I know that the city is going to continue to be a great place to live, work, and play.
Well, thank you. You summed everything up so well. In closing, though, on behalf of a grateful workforce and a grateful city, I would like to thank you and offer this toast as we pour some sparkling water. Yeah, emphasize this water. Wish it was champagne. To Wanda, may your retirement be fulfilling and everything you dreamed it could be, restful, peaceful. You deserve it. And thank you so much again for all you've done for the City of Durham.
Thank you.
Well, that does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media, watch us on the Durham Television Network and on YouTube. And you can listen to our podcast on iTunes. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.